Hey guys, tonight we're traveling back to a world of volcanic lakes, floating gardens, and obsidian daggers. You're in the middle of central Mexico, sometime around the early 1400s, where the scent of roasted maize drifts over reed huts and war drums echo in the early morning. Haze, you're not a tourist, you're a teenage warrior in training in the Mexica tribe, and your homeland. Yeah, it's technically just a soggy collection of islands in Lake Texcoco. Your people are newcomers, seen as rude squatters by their neighbors. You're mocked, underestimated, occasionally enslaved, and one day, you're going to be feared. But not yet. For now. Your only real battlefield is the Chinampa farm your uncle keeps yelling at you to weed. Still, the elders whisper of change is coming. There's a spark in the air. Something smells like destiny, or maybe it's just the swamp again. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is in your corner of the world. Now. Dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake up before sunrise. The air is heavy with lake mist, and your reed mat is still damp from the night. You sit up, blink, and hear shouting someone's goat escaped, or maybe it's another neighborhood scuffle. Your people, the Mexica, aren't exactly famous for peace and quiet. You stumble outside and spot smoke curling up over the next island. Not war yet, just breakfast fires. This is Tenochtitlan, but not the towering imperial city you've heard about. Right now, it's humble. Mud paths, thatched huts, canoes instead of roads. Your feet squish into wet earth as you head for the communal hearth. And while you chew your burnt tortilla and try to ignore the mosquito invasion, one thing is clear. Your people are hungry not just for food, but for respect, for land, and maybe for a little revenge. See, a couple generations ago, the Mexica were basically nobodies. Refugees, outsiders. Legend says your ancestors wandered for years after being kicked out of their last home, looking for the promised land, a place where an eagle would be seen perched on a cactus, devouring a snake. Sounds poetic, right? Well, when they finally found that scene, the cactus happened to be growing on a tiny swamp island. Not ideal real estate, still. They took it as fate and built their homes. Right there. The problem? Everyone else in the Valley of Mexico already had dibs. All around you are older, richer, and far more powerful city-states: Texcoco, Tlacopan, and especially Azcapotzalco, the massive powerhouse to the west. You basically rent your survival from them. The Tepanecs of Azcapotzalco allow your people to stay, but only because they make for convenient muscle mercenaries, cannon fodder, backup dancers for their real wars. So, today, you and your fellow Mexica train. Every morning, running, spear throwing, mock duels with sticks wrapped in cloth. You're told that your muscles are prayers, your sweat a kind of tax to the gods. But behind all the chanting and training is a quiet truth. You're being sharpened, not just for glory, but for survival. You've already heard stories about the old rulers who dared speak out, like Chimalpopoca, the puppet king of the Mexica, who mysteriously died in captivity after trying to assert some independence. Historians still argue whether he took his own life in defiance, or whether the Tepanecs gave him a little encouragement with a garrote. Either way, his fate hangs over everything. And then there's your new leader. It's Codal. His name means obsidian serpent, which, yes, is as cool as it sounds. He's the son of a slave. Technically illegitimate, but sharp, cunning, and quietly furious. He's not flashy, he's strategic. The kind of man who talks like he's discussing the weather while plotting a coup. His right hand. Tlacopan. That name might not mean much to you now, but it will. He's like a walking flame, intense, persuasive, probably has way too many opinions. And he's not a ruler. Not exactly. But he's about to reshape everything. 1 sticky afternoon, while you're hauling firewood past the priest house, you catch wind of a secret meeting. A few elders, some warriors, a veiled figure with a hawk tattooed on his shoulder. You linger nearby, pretending to fuss with your sandals, but your ears are wide open. They're talking rebellion. You swallow hard. Treason is the kind of thing that gets entire villages wiped off the map. But the way they speak, measured, rehearsed, even hopeful, it chills you. They talk about Azcapotzalco like a wounded animal, one that's been lashing out for decades but is finally showing signs of weakness. Their ruler, Tezozomoc, once terrifying, is now old and sick. His sons fight each other for scraps of inheritance. The city is bloated, overconfident. It's ripe. But you're still a small fish in a boiling lake. Even if Azcapotzalco is losing its grip, one wrong move and you're done. Your city could be razed. Your Chinampa salted. Your name erased from history like it never mattered. And yet, there's something in the air that makes you believe. Maybe it's the way the warriors stand a little taller. Maybe it's the way the traders whisper faster. Or how even the priests walk like they're already part of some secret victory. Or maybe it's the eagle no, really. One morning, while you're helping clear brush for a new altar, a cry goes up. Everyone rushes to the shore. And there it is, perched on a cactus growing straight from a slab of stone, devouring a snake again. But this time, it feels like more than a symbol. It feels like a countdown. That night, the stars are unusually bright. The constellations swirl above your hut as if they're leaning in, listening. You lie on your mat, staring up at the reed ceiling, and wonder if you'll live to see your people rise or if you're just another name that won't make it into the rewritten scrolls. Oh, and that fringe detail. Some say your people smeared their faces with crocodile dung to keep insects away during these early swampy years. Historians aren't sure if that's hygienic brilliance or ancient hazing ritual. But hey, you smelled weird either way. Tomorrow, you march, or at least, that's the plan. And though you try to sleep, your heart thumps like a war drum beneath your ribs. You rise before dawn again, but this time, not for training. Today, you're marching. You're not told where exactly, only that you're to stay close, keep quiet, and follow orders. You rub ash on your arms for luck, shoulder your lattice, and slip a dried maize cake into your tunic. The city is waking up with a different kind of energy, less like chores, more like destiny. The council's decision is out. The Mexica are done playing foot soldiers for Azcapotzalco. And how do you declare independence when you're technically someone's vassal? Well, not with a politely worded letter. You head east with 100 others, weaving through narrow canals, reeds brushing your cheeks. The water glistens in soft pre-dawn light, but you're too tense to admire the scenery. Behind you, Tenochtitlan fades into mist. Ahead Texcoco, and more importantly, Nezahualcóyotl. Now there's a name. It means hungry coyote, which sounds like a punk band but is actually your soon-to-be best ally. Nezahualcóyotl is the rightful heir of Texcoco, but after his father was killed by Azcapotzalco, he's been lying low, gathering followers. The enemy thinks he's finished, so naturally, you're here to help him make a big, loud comeback. Itzcoatl and Lacailo know they can't take down Azcapotzalco alone. This is where the marriage of blades begins, not romantic, definitely. Not gentle, but effective. They reach out to Texcoco and Tlacopan, to rival cities who also have a bone to pick with the Tepanecs. Historians still argue whether this alliance, the famed Triple Alliance, was planned years in advance or sparked in desperation. Either way, it changes everything. At the edge of Texcoco's territory, you finally get a glimpse of Nezahualcóyotl. He's lean, sharp-eyed, more poet than warlord, but don't let the delicate bone structure fool you. The guy once escaped assassins by hiding in a tree trunk, and reportedly drank water from his enemies' skulls. So, balance. Your commanders approach him with ceremonial gifts, feathers, cacao, jade beads, and a message. Let's break the world together. There's no ceremony, no speeches, just nods, a few sharp glances, and a shared look that seems to say, time to end the old god's game. Your orders: harass trade routes, burn supply lines, spy on the Tepanic border post. You're the distraction, the smoke, the whisper, the mosquito in the ear. It's not glorious, but it works. Every skirmish rattles Azcapotzalco. Their forces are spread too thin. Their captains bicker. Their spies don't know who to trust. Like termites in the walls, you're weakening the foundations. One night, after torching a remote outpost, you and your unit find shelter in a cave lined with ancient pictographs. Your squad leader chuckles, pointing out a sketch of a bird-headed god wrestling a jaguar. That's us, he says, biting into a dry chili. The gods are already drawing fan art. It's a joke, but you sleep better that night. Back in Tenochtitlan, the mood has shifted. Gone are the whispers and side eyes. Now, people speak openly of war. Smiths hammer obsidian into cruel shapes. Women grind maize into war bread. Even children play pretend battles with twigs shaped like spears. The city pulses like a heart ready to burst. Tlacailo's influence is everywhere. He's not a warrior on the field, but he's the fire behind every decision. He tells the people this isn't just politics, it's cosmic. The Mexica, he says, are chosen. Their suffering was a crucible. Now, they must rise as instruments of divine balance. He even introduces a new twist to the old religion. Huitzilopochtli, the sun god, isn't just a symbol anymore. He needs blood to survive. Your enemy's blood. Tlacailo claims the Mexica aren't fighting for land, they're feeding the universe. Fringe detail? Some claim he had old scrolls burned to reshape history because what's the point of truth if it doesn't serve the future? But not everyone's buying it. A few elders mutter that the gods don't pick favorites. Some young warriors joke about how Lake Halo probably dreams in propaganda. Still, even skeptics admit his fire is contagious. One afternoon, you're summoned to a temple rooftop. Its goal is speaking, not shouting, not grandstanding, just telling you what's next. He outlines the final plan: full revolt. Not just skirmishes, not just sabotage, an open war. You'll attack Tepenec allies first, force them to pick sides, and then when Azcapotzalco is isolated, you go for the jugular. You're not the only one feeling queasy. You spot hardened warriors tightening their jaw, priests quietly chanting as they rub red dye into their faces. It's all happening. There's no turning back. The next weeks are a blur. You help conquer Kyokan, once a loyal Tepenec satellite, then Xochimilco, then others fall like dominoes. The alliance is working. Mexico warriors lead the charge, but Texcoco and Tlacopan lend firepower and legitimacy. There's a rhythm to the war now. March, fight, burn, retreat, repeat. You learn to read the skies, trust your instincts, and spot enemy scouts by the way the reeds move. You lose friends. You bury them in shallow graves with their favorite stones and whisper old songs over their bodies. The songs don't help, but singing them feels like defiance. And then just when it starts to feel like the pattern will stretch on forever, you get word: Azcapotzalco is exposed. Its sons are dead or exiled. Its borders are bleeding. Tezazomac's throne is empty, claimed by a weak successor. The serpent is ready for beheading, but you're not there yet. Not quite. Your unit gathers for one last briefing. The lake air is heavy, and the moon hangs low, as if eavesdropping. You can almost smell victory, but you also know that's when people get sloppy. Still, you look around and see something you didn't see a year ago. Your comrades no longer look like swamp-born mercenaries. They look like warriors of a rising power. And you? You realize you've become something else entirely, someone who believes that the impossible is already happening. Your city, your people are no longer just tenants of the basin. You're about to take the keys. It's time. You've marched for days through the dry season heat, over cracked roads and brushy trails, through villages that cheer you or hide behind closed doors. Some offer food, tamales, beans, dried fish wrapped in leaves. Others offer silence, eyes wide, heads low. Either way, they know what's coming. Azcapotzalco, the city of the Tepenecs, is just ahead. It's bigger than Tenochtitlan, older. It sprawls across dry land with thick walls, stone buildings, and a long memory of dominance. But you see it differently now. You see the cracks, the slumping corners of temples, the nervous shuffling of border guards, the frantic construction of last-minute defenses. It looks like a lion trying to puff itself up after its teeth have fallen out. The alliance: Mexica, Texcoco, Tlacopan moves like a tide. This is the final strike, and you, a mud-covered fighter from a once humble island, are here to see it through. At dawn, you gather at the edge of a wooded ridge, hidden behind a line of brush. The air is sharp with the scent of crushed agave and distant fires. You tie strips of red cloth round your wrist, not for fashion, but for focus. One of your comrades is painting jaguar spots onto his arms, whispering a prayer to Tezcatlipoca, the smoky mirror god who, for all his mystery, seems to have a mean streak and a dark sense of humor. You figure that's your kind of deity. Down below, Azcapotzalco looks calm to calm. You feel it, how quiet the birds are, how the wind stops right before a storm. Its gobo gives the signal, and like that, the calm shatters. The attack is fast and brutal. Obsidian blades flash, atlatls whistle through the air, and warriors pour into the city like water through broken dams. You fight in tight streets, elbow to elbow with allies and enemies. You duck under a swinging club, lunge forward, and hear the crunch of stone meeting bone. Time stretches and contracts. It's impossible to tell how long you've been fighting. It could be hours or heartbeats. And through it all, you catch glimpses: Texcocan spears gleaming in the sun, Tlacopan warriors leaping over barricades, Mexica captains roaring orders from rooftops. The alliance is working, seamless and relentless. Still, the Tepenecs don't go quietly. Their warriors are fierce, seasoned, angry. They scream old war cries and fight like cornered jaguars. One lunges at you with the McHugh Weedle and nearly takes your leg off. You roll, scramble, counter. For a second, your nose to nose, his breath smells like smoke and corned beer before your blade finds the gap in his armor. You don't celebrate. You move on. You pass a fallen standard, its once bright feathers trampled in the dust. You climb the temple steps, not to pray, but to look. And what you see stops your breath. Azcapotzalco is falling. Its great plaza is packed with smoke and fleeing figures. Its warriors are surrounded. Its temples burn from within. You spot the enemy leader, Maxtla, Tezazomac's son, trying to rally his troops. But his face is pale, his gestures frantic. You know that look? It's not leadership, it's panic. Later, you'll hear that Maxla tried to flee, that he was captured and sacrificed at Tenochtitlan's great temple, his heart torn out beneath the rising sun. Historians still argue whether the ritual was meant to honor the gods or send a message. But either way, it worked. Azcapotzalco dies with him. By nightfall, the city is ash and silence. You sit on a broken column, chest heaving, legs numb. Someone hands you a bowl of water, and you drink like you've just come back from the dead. And maybe you have. Because this moment changes everything. Your commanders say it plainly. The Tepanic Empire is finished. The Triple Alliance stands victorious. You are no longer mercenaries or underdogs. You are conquerors. You return to Tenochtitlan with a trail of captives, tribute, and trophies. Flowers are thrown in the canals, drums thunder, and children paint your faces onto clay dolls. It's like a fever dream, except this one smells like blood and incense. The celebrations go on for days. There are feasts, dances, ritual burnings of old banners, and sacrifices, so many sacrifices. Prisoners taken from Azcapotzalco are led up temple steps and offered to the gods. Some scream, others go silently, jaws clenched. You try not to look, but part of you watches anyway. It feels like a terrible ending, or maybe just the beginning of something worse. Because now comes the hard part, ruling. It's go to waste no time. He begins dividing the spoils, lands, resources, titles. But he's not just playing favorites. He's reordering the world. Tlacaelel is right beside him, whispering ideas that sound more like spells than policies. You notice it in small things. First, old scrolls disappear from temple libraries. Priests begin reciting new stories. Kids start repeating sayings that no one taught them, about how the Mexica were always destined to rule, how the sun needs blood, how Azcapotzalco's fall was the will of the universe. The past, it seems, is being edited. The most powerful moment, when Azcapotzalco declares that from now on, Tenochtitlan will keep its own records, Mexica records. No more Tepanic scribes, no more borrowed myths. History will now be carved in obsidian and blood, the way you remember it. Fringe detail. Word spreads that Tlacaelel ordered the destruction of ancient codices scrolls that told less flattering versions of your people's journey. Some call it visionary, others call it erasure. You just call it strange how fast the past can change when nobody has a copy of it. But in the end, you're too exhausted to argue. You limp home with a jagged scar on your thigh and a head full of noise. You lie on your reed mat again, just like before, but now, everything is different. You fought in the battle that changed the map. You helped end a dynasty. You stood in the smoke of a burning empire and lived to tell the tale. Still, even in victory, there's that whisper. What now? Because toppling an enemy is one thing. Replacing them, that's a whole different kind of war. The drums don't stop. Even weeks after Azcapotzalco's fall, Tenochtitlan throbs with celebration, ceremony, and something new order. People still shout, laugh, argue, flirt in the canals. But now it all moves to a rhythm laid down by your new rulers. You hear it in the footfalls of messengers crossing the causeways, in the synchronized chants from the temples, even in the way the Chinampa farmers steer their canoes in tighter, cleaner rows. But it's not just your city that's changing. The world beyond it begins to tilt toward the Mexica. The tribute starts arriving quickly. Baskets of cacao, bundles of cotton, obsidian blades, tropical feathers, dried fish from the lakes, gold from distant tributaries. It's all processed, sorted, recorded by temple scribes and tax officials who are suddenly very busy and very smug. You're pulled from the field to help with some of the inventory. By now, your muscles have healed. Your scar has faded into something that makes children stare admiringly. You notice it first when you open a delivery from the east, fine quetzal feathers, wrapped in maize husks, and one of the scribes explains that the village who sent them is showing proper submission. You blink. Last season, that village didn't even know your name. You've become part of something enormous. Still, it's not all feast and praise. With power comes paranoia. The Alliance Mexica, Texcoco, Tlacopan was a pact forged in fire. But no one said it would stay cozy. Already, you hear murmurings. Who gets which village? Who controls the lake routes? Historians still argue whether the Triple Alliance was a genuine partnership or just a stepping stone for Mexica supremacy. Tlacaelel, as usual, has a plan. He proposes something radical. Rewrite history. Literally. You sit in a temple hall one day, sharpening weapons in the corner, while a group of high priests and elder scribes debate a new draft of Mexica origin myths. The mood is surprisingly casual. Like a writer's room for a divine sitcom. Should the Mexica be descended from divine fire? Or maybe from the north, from mythical Aslan? One priest insists the eagle on a cactus story could use more snakes. Another says the sun god should demand more sacrifices, it adds drama. One of the younger scribes catches your eye and whispers, "We're creating the world's most dangerous bedtime story." And so, history is carved, not just written. Murals are repainted, temples reinscribed, songs revised. You hear elders telling their grandchildren tales that never existed a year ago, and no one questions them. After all, the present is strong. Why not let the past match? You help escort one of the new codices to a neighboring city. The scroll is wrapped in jaguar skin and sealed with maize paste. The elders call it the official word. You glance at the illustrations, heroic Mexican warriors, cowardly Tepanecs, divine approval in every panel. It's beautiful. It's a lie. But maybe that doesn't matter anymore. The people believe it. That's what counts. You remember a saying, history is written by the victors. What they didn't tell you is that victors have editors. But something else is growing, something even more impressive than the rewriting of the past. The city itself, Tenochtitlan, is expanding like a cactus fed by blood and ambition. New temples rise, larger than any before. Stone roads stretch across the lake, linking the island capital to mainland cities. Canoes jam the canals like rush hour traffic, ferrying goods, messages, gossip. You're reassigned to a construction crew. Gone are your days of stabbing enemy warriors, now you haul bricks and carve glyphs. It's not glamorous, but it feels important. The temple you helped build will one day be known as the Templo Mayor. Right now, it's just scaffolding and dreams. You wipe sweat from your brow, then squint up at the unfinished pyramid. It's massive, made to impress gods and terrify mortals. Every stone, every painted skull, is propaganda. A reminder to the world that the Mexica have arrived and they're not going anywhere. Still, beneath the pride, you notice something strange creeping in, fear. Not from outside enemies, but from within. Miss a tribute quota. Your village might find its name whispered in a sacrifice chant. Disrespect a priest. You might spend the rest of your life hauling stones through swamp mud. You've seen friends rise in rank, then disappear when they grew too ambitious. The city is beautiful, the city is brutal. You've helped build both sides. One day, you walk past a plaza where a young boy practices reciting the new origin myth. He speaks with pride, his voice rising over the rustling of palm fronds behind him. His mother nods along, beaming. You feel something. A mix of satisfaction and unease. That story he's telling, it's not the one your grandmother told, but he believes it completely, and maybe he's happier for it. You spend the evening on a rooftop, watching the sun sink behind the mountains. The sky glows orange, then deepens to violet. Canoes glide through silver water below. You sip pulque and chew roasted maize, wondering if this is peace or just the eye of the next storm. You think of Azcapotzalco again. How it ruled, how it fell, how fast its memory has been scrubbed from public murals. Fringe detail. There's a rumor that one of Tezazomac's grandsons survived and lives in disguise as a potter in a border village. Every time someone finds a suspiciously angry-looking clay figurine, someone else whispers, maybe that's his work. You laugh. But you also keep your blade sharp, because empires don't rest. And history, once you start shaping it, doesn't stop needing maintenance. You fall asleep to the sound of chisels on stone, hammers on obsidian, scribes muttering over drafts. Tenochtitlan isn't finished, not even close. It's just beginning, and so are you. You wake to the scent of copal smoke and the faint thudding of drums again. But this morning, there's no battle to fight, no walls to scale, no scrolls to copy, just a ceremony, a big one. The Huey Teocalli, the great temple, is finished. You remember when it was scaffolding and blueprints drawn in chalk on clay. Now it pierces the sky, its twin shrines at the summit catching the first rays of sunlight like jaguar eyes blinking open. One shrine honors Tlaloc, the rain god, keeper of crops, storms, and sudden drownings. The other belongs to Huitzilopochtli, the war god, sunblood drinker, patron of the Mexica, and possibly the most intense boss in the celestial office. Today, the temple will be dedicated. You're told it's going to be the largest mass offering in your people's history. Mass being a gentle euphemism. You're not fighting anymore, but your role is still part of the war machine. You help coordinate the arrival of envoys, carry baskets of dyed cotton and cacao beans, guide wide-eyed visitors through the city's growing plazas. You've become a veteran with no more blades to swing, only stories to tell and echoes to remember. The city is unrecognizable now. Tenochtitlan pulses like a living heart, its veins packed with tribute, its temples glistening with new paint. You see children playing under stone arches, old women selling tamales from beneath colorfully woven awnings, warriors sparring on open platforms just for practice, Everything feels larger than life. And yet, beneath the grandeur, something else grows. Bureaucracy. The war may be over, but paperwork, it's just begun. You overhear heated debates among tax collectors, arguments about how many blankets count as a proper tribute, and whether cocoa beans from Xochimilco should be accepted if they're slightly overripe. Historians still argue whether the Mexica built an efficient imperial administration or just duct taped a tribute racket to a very enthusiastic religion. Still, it works. Towns submit. Allies stay quiet. The Triple Alliance stands at least. For now, you sit on a temple step one afternoon, eating toasted amaranth and watching a line of ambassadors from distant towns shuffle forward to offer gifts. There's a group from the coast, dripping with salt and awkwardness, another from the mountains, who bring the gift of strange green stones that smell faintly of sulfur. Everyone's trying to impress the new overlords. You smile. A few years ago, your people were barely tolerated squatters. Now, they're the sun's middle managers, but of course, not everyone's thrilled. You meet an old man from Chalco who whispers that the sun doesn't need blood, it just likes attention. You laugh, but he doesn't. He says the gods aren't hungry, people are. And he's not wrong. You've seen it, villages stripped of food because they couldn't meet tribute demands. Children sent to temples in exchange for protection. Farmers quietly packing up and disappearing into the hills. You wonder, is this what Azcapotzalco looked like just before the fall? Still, there's a rhythm to it all. You show up, you bow, you chant, you serve. That's how the Mexica keep order through spectacle, routine, and a carefully curated story. One afternoon, you're invited to a scribe's house for polk and gossip. He shows you a new codex, hot off the brush. It depicts the great victory over the Tepanecs, of course, but now with more feathers, more lightning bolts, more divine animals hovering over Mexico, warriors like enthusiastic mascots. You joke that in the next version, you'll be flying on an eagle's back. He grins. Next edition, probably. Still, something gnaws at you. That night, in a dream, you walk through a silent Azcapotzalco. It's empty. The walls are cracked. The banners are faded. You climb the temple, and at the top stands Maxla, not angry, not vengeful, just tired. He asks you a question. What do you think they'll say about you when your time ends? You wake with the start, heart pounding. The next day, you go to the old battlefield. It's quiet now, just dry grass and wind. You kneel, not to mourn, just to remember. Because victory doesn't last forever. And empires, no matter how bright they burn, always leave ashes behind. But for now, just for now, you are part of something alive. A city that floats on water, worships the sun, and dares to rewrite time. You helped make that happen. And tomorrow, well, that's for someone else's story. Now, take a deep breath. Let the temple steps fade away behind you. Let the drums grow quieter. The city shrinks into soft golden mist, the way memories do when they've lived long enough. You feel the warm stone beneath your hands, the lingering taste of maize on your tongue, the sting of obsidian in a scar that's mostly healed. The noise of empire, its songs, its lies, its triumphs drift farther and farther until all that remains is stillness. In your chest, the rhythm slows. No banners here, no tribute, just the hush of reeds swaying along a lake that remembers everything. The great temple will rise and crumble, the scrolls will fade, the stories will change again, some softened, some sharpened. But tonight, you were part of the moment when the Mexica stepped from shadows into firelight and claimed the stage. Not just with war, but with words, with stone, with sheer, stubborn will. Now, let the moon hang low over Lake Texcoco, its reflection rippling across dark water. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let the last flickers of torchlight dim. No more questions, no more marching, no more history to rewrite. You've earned your rest. Sleep easy, warrior.